Hello. Hope I'm audible. Hey guys. Sorry for the delay again. Cool. Let's get started. Today the topic is optimizing interaction to the next point. Uh, it's again not so specific to the React. It's so much specific to the browser and JavaScript engine basically. I work for this company called Rubrik as a software engineer, mostly on the UI infra and sometimes on the features also. So basically, you can reach out to me through LinkedIn, Twitter. You can just get me there. I'm always active there. Let me set the focus right. So for this talk, so basically here we will just focus on like what this interaction to the next paint is, and why is it so important for us as a front-end devs, and how to measure and monitor it, and how to optimize it. So let's get started. So what is INP? So basically this INP is a measure of responsiveness of a web app. So what I mean by responsiveness, so basically it's not the CSS responsiveness which we usually think about, like responsiveness towards the viewport or something like that. It's not about that. What it's more about is the activity or liveliness of the web app, right? So whenever you load a web app, the most of the time that you spend uh, is in the web app. It's not about loading it. You are not going to load a web page a lot of times unless or until it's highly required, and a good web app should not ask or demand the user to reload multiple times. And So basically like this INP or the interaction to the next paint is a time for the browser to like paint for a particular user interaction, right? So user interacts with the browser, basically the web app. He clicks on some buttons, he tries to type something in the input box, or he might be trying to scroll something, or he might be doing some user interaction, he might be triggering some events, and that should be it will have the consequent event listeners, and then that listeners will execute, and then that will again paint the browser, right? So when I actually type in something in the user import, it actually paints something. Say I type A, that letter A is painted in the browser. So from that point, when I actually click my keyboard button A, till the paint happens, and then it is visible to me in the screen, right? So that is the actual INP. So that is the interaction to the next paint. That is what it means. So let's just try to create a demo and then show the same stuff. Hope it's visible. Yeah. So this is a very dumb code sandbox. Don't think so much. Yeah, it's working. So basically it has a couple of input boxes, and one is having a simpler input on change, just sets the value, and then the another one is like heavy on change, where it does some processing after even setting the value, right? And it doesn't. So basically what happens is the JavaScript execution happens in the event listener, right? And it doesn't allow. So we'll see the demo. Okay, so here I'm typing and I'm not getting any lag or something, and I'm able to type it very easily, right? So let me try to type it in the heavy on change. It is taking some time to process it, right? So let's see what actually is happening. Some dumb heavy operation is happening. It is just a loop if you try to see it. So it's just doing nothing, but it's just trying to go through the loop. But what's actually happening is it doesn't allow the render pipeline to render the content, right? Before that, it tries to run the loop, because in JavaScript, like say what happens is if there is a task, they start executing. Until it ends, the render pipeline will not run. So it should completely run the action event listener, and then it runs. So this is what the responsiveness means, right? So the first input box is a kind of responsiveness that the user wants in your web app, and the second one is not something which the user doesn't want in your web app. And let's just get back. So this is what this INP is trying to give, right? So how different is from FID? So FID is something which most of the people are already monitoring, right? There is a lot of emphasis on this FID, the first input delay, right? But this first input delay, I think whom are like a lot of people who are working at scale, who have the web app and then tracking their web vitals, through Sentry or something like that, some tool, right? So you would be seeing this FID as a common factor, and all these things will happen. And there is a lot of emphasis there, but not to the INP. But what I'm just trying to convey is just that the user spends most of the time in the page, not by reloading it or something like that. There should be a good amount of emphasis there should be a good amount of emphasis given to be given to the FID. I'm not denying that, but the equal amount of importance should be given to the INP as well, the interaction to the next paint, right? So if the FID, how would you put it, like, is first input delay is the measure of from the moment you type something in the URL bar or click on the reload button, and then from that point to the first time where the page becomes interactable for the user, right? That is the first input delay. But this doesn't convey the entire responsiveness of the app, right? So what should we do? So this is an interesting stat, right? Like, say if you see the stat, so the FID, like, there is a you can keep this FID as like if your web page is rendering within like 3 seconds, within 3 seconds, and then it is available for the user to interact, then it is called a good FID. And if you see, it's like more or less 90%, 98% and above for all the web pages in the browser, in the desktop. And if you come to the mobile, it was 72% before, and it's like 93% nearly when it is when the stats are taken in May 2022, right? So this is nearly the same, and this is something that the factor which is common around all the web apps and web pages which are available in the internet now. But what makes the difference, right, from a good app and a bad app is just this INP, right? So how much responsive it is. Like, say when a user type, it should obviously be able to take the interactions, process it, and then paint it immediately. Let's see a closer look at this INP. So what this INP means, as I said, from that, this is the place, like say there could be other tasks which are running in your browser, right? Say when you do a click and then something is happening, and then let's consider we will calculate the INP for the second click. And maybe we will keep it like this. Say I have an input box and then I have a submit button, right? So the input box is where I type in something. There is going to be a task which is going to be running from the input box, which is the event listener of the input box and whatever we are triggering from there. And there is this submit button which we will be clicking on after I type whatever I want in the input box, right? So when I try to click on the submit button as soon as possible as a user, if there is some heavy task which is running in the event listener of the input box, that is going to block me from clicking it. Okay, even though I click it, and then from that point, like there is a event listener which starts running for the submit button, and then all the events will be triggered, like mouse up, mouse down, mouse up, click, and everything. And then the rendering happens, the paint happens, and if there is any animations, the compositing happens, and then the frame is presented. So this entire journey, this entire time frame is what is we call it as INP. And so okay, so we know that now at this point we will at least be able to infer that this INP is essential, right? So how to calculate INP, or how to get this metrics? Like, say there should be a standard way to obtain the metrics, and then like say this page is slow, or it is less responsive, or it is more responsive. So to attain at that, there is some standard practices which has been preferred by this Web Vitals. So if any of your actions is taking more than 200 milliseconds for the browser to render the next frame, then it is not responsive, or it needs improvement. When it goes beyond 500 milliseconds, it's definitely it's a poor responsive site, right? Ideally it should be somewhere around like 100 milliseconds or less than that, or something like 150, 200. So that's the range. And let's consider, like, this is for a normal web page where there is not a lot of interactions. It's just going to be some button clicks and filling up the forms or something like that, which is most of the B2B applications does. And like, say if you take some like high interaction intensive sites, like say maybe a code editor, maybe code sandbox, or a hacker rank IDE or something like that, if you take that, the interactions are going to be so much, right? I'm going to type on it, I'm going to format it, I'm going to do a lot of stuff with that. So in that case, to reduce, we need to give up the anomalies. Say for example, anomalies in the sense there might be a user who is trying to access this web app from a very low quality device, or maybe for some reason some external user agent, or for some reason the page is slow, right? So we may not want to count it, so we keep that as anomaly. To leave out that anomaly, we bring in this concept of P95 or P98 or something like that. And most of the people who are already tracking the web app would know what this P95 or P98 means is. Like, maybe I will just give a quick glimpse of what that is, right? So basically, let's consider you are having like 10,000 users using your web app, and the P95 metrics are something like that. You will get the best 95 users and then get their metrics. So how will you get that best 95 percentage of the users is, we will take all the metrics and then get the top 95 metrics, like top 95% of the metrics. So let's consider the page load metric, right? So page load can be variable for a lot of users, and to measure it, right, we always take P95 or P98 or something like that. So why we do that? Because there might be user who are accessing it from very bad internet, or maybe their RAM is less, or some resource implications are there, right? So for that kind of user, we need to remove them as an anomaly. So what we will do is, we will get, like, say, all the page loads. We will get all the page loads, like say there are 10,000 page loads happening. We will take all the metrics, and then we will take the top 95%. Top 95%, we will first ascendingly order it. We will order it in ascending order, like say starting from the least to the bigger amount of time frame which has been taken to load the page, right? So we will take the entire thing, and then we'll take the top 95%. So we will leave out that last 5% for the P95. And what the web vitals is, the group of web vitals is like suggesting is, like, we need to take P98 for more than 50 interactions are there if in your web app or in that particular frame. If there is like more than 50 interactions are going to be there, better take a P98 metrics rather than taking a P100 metrics, like, which is like taking all the metrics and then working on it. So that's, and again, that's going to be based on the use case, and you can define it, like say, first start recording it, monitor it, monitor the INP, and then based on your insights and things, keep your own set of goals. Say if your INP is very low, like very high, like say, which is like 1 second or 800 milliseconds or something like that, just try to bring in like as much as people into that good INP bracket of less than 200 milliseconds. Maybe you can just, if you think that P50 is under that bracket, you can try to bring in that P75% of the user into that bracket of less INP of less than 200 milliseconds. So let's see how to measure or monitor it, right? So basically there is a crux data set. This is like Chrome user experience report data set that is available in GCP, or I think that is available in GCP BigQuery, if I know it correctly. Yeah. And you can find it in all over the internet. Like, you can just search for it. If your web app that you're searching for is there in the report, you can just go with that metrics, or even you can use this Web Vitals library. It's just an NPM library, NPM package. You can just add it to your web app and then test it out. Or even you can use this performance observer. This is an interesting Indian blog. You can just check it out. It's just a performance observer. It gives some APIs and methods, utility methods for you, for the developer to easily measure the metrics. And so these are the like number of ways that you can use, or even you can just add the web vitals to your package and like to your web app, and then like get the insights from the Sentry also, or any other tools which is used for the front end monitoring of your web app. So let's think of like how we optimize it. Now we know what is this INP, and then how essential it is, and then how to measure or monitor it. Now let's see what are all the problems, or what can be the major bottlenecks in having a higher INP, right? So basically, minimize the burden for your main thread, right? So basically, it starts from having a not so big image, a high quality image, or not so big, a lot of animations, or having lesser amount of event listeners, or like try to optimize your code, whatever it is, right? Even the memory leak in JavaScript can cause these kind of issues. Try to reduce the closures as much as possible if you are writing it, because the JavaScript engine is not going to know whether to clear the heap or not. So just take care of that. There shouldn't be a lot of memory leaks and all these things. So this can, like, again, like whenever there is a memory leak, the burden for the garbage collector in the JavaScript is going to increase, and it's eventually going to be running in the main thread. So garbage collector is definitely going to stop your rendering engine and everything. So just try to get most of the things out of the main thread if possible, if required. Again, like say if there is some major like processing happens, try to get it into WebAssembly to get it sooner done, or maybe you can just use this web workers or something like that to get it done, right? Or again, the next one is going to be audit the event listeners. Say basically if you are doing a lot of process in your event listeners, try to get uh, reduce it in the product point of view, or even from the tech point of view, you can just move it to the web workers or something like that. So just do an audit of the event listener if your INP is very high or something like that. And automate the style sheet bundle. So unnecessary style sheets again introduces a lot of unnecessary calculations that will happen during the rendering engine render pipeline. So just take care that you are just using or chunking out the unnecessary uh, style sheets that you don't want in your web app at that point of time. Be diligent in hydrating the app. So basically when you hydrate app, the execution happens in the server, and then you get the actual like listeners which should actions that should be taken on a particular event, right? So what happens is for that particular async call that goes to the server, might be if it is slow, then your responsiveness is going to be bad. So just think a bit more, be diligent, be careful while you're hydrating your app. This is an interesting stat, right? Like say like so this shows most of the frameworks and technologies with their like say it is like a data which has been taken in May 2022, and then it shows like say, for all the websites we have somewhere around 55% of good INP. If you compare, 55% of the sites or web pages are like having good INP value, but like there is a split up which is interesting, which has been given like based on the framework that is used in the web app. So when jQuery is being used, it's like 57%, and like you can read through it, right? So why these modern frameworks are lagging here is like it's because of the lot of JavaScript that is running. Try to reduce the JavaScript that you are getting into your web app. Try to optimize your JavaScript bundles too. But again, right, say it's not about like how much JavaScript we are sending again. It's morely about how much JavaScript we are executing. Even if you are writing in React, if you are writing a good quality React, it's the INP is not going to be affected. If you are having a lot of like actions continuously, say for example, like I can put you an analogy here, right? Say for example, you can just set there are let's consider there are three input boxes, and based on one input box value, I need to change a couple of other input box. So I can do it in two ways, right? So one is like I can just get the value of the first input box, and then set the second one, and then based on the second one I can set the third one. And the second way is like I can just get the first one's value and then calculate both the values which I wanted to do for second and the third text box, and set the state at once, right? So in the previous approach, we will be using like one set state and then again one use effect or something like that. In the second one, we will be using one set state and that's it. So instead of doing a couple of actions in the event listener, if you do one particular action, then it's good. Right? So it's all about the way that you write. It's not only applies to React or whatever library that you're using, whatever framework that you're using. Just be diligent on what are the actions that you're doing in the event listener. So the major point that I wanted to bring in this talk is just that there is a lot of emphasis around the page load metrics and the first input delay and so on, but not on this INP. Please give a lot of importance to this one, because this is going to be very important for the business. Rubrik is a data security platform, and most of the users are going to be backup admins or something like that. And most of the time they are not going to keep on reloading the web pages. It's more about they staying in the web pages and getting the things done. And responsiveness matters a lot in most of these kind of B2B applications. So be diligent there. Thank you guys. That's it for the talk. Most of the things that I know about INP is delivered, but yeah, there are a few content which you can just get deeper from this blog, from this web.dev INP. Just give it a read if you want to know the details. Thank you so much. Any questions? Yeah. Yes, tell me. Sorry. Hmm. Oh, okay. So that doesn't mean, yeah. Lighthouse metrics are different. You need to have a separate metrics around INP. So just Web Vital metrics will give you all the metrics. So just try it out. Lighthouse may, I think, give, but I think you will not be able to get it in a synthetic way. Say you need to give it to the users and then track it from there. So better, what I would suggest is have some tool like Sentry or something which can monitor all your Web Vital metrics. Just send it to the user. From there, you get all the metrics, collect it, and then get the P95 or P98, and then try to increase. Yep. Hmm. Yeah. So that is not going to block the user. Right? That's not going to block the user anyway, right? So it's asynchronous call. The user agent is going to take care of that. So the JavaScript task is going to complete there only. So I think that should not be a problem. But when the data comes back, you should not be doing a lot of processing again. If you are doing a lot of processing, then better do it in the server and then send it. Like, yeah, but it's like say again, if you are like say there is a one part of the screen which is actually responsible for what you're saying, right? And then you will make the loader available only for that. All the other parts of the screen should still be available for the user. And if you are doing something synchronously, some data processing is happening, that will also be blocked. That should not happen. Thank you guys.